Hey, how's it going? Today, I want to walk you through this sort of ancient Japanese inspired cyberpunk scene. Um, I know it's not super cyberpunk, it's also not super ancient Japanese. It's just kind of something that popped in my head and I wanted to throw something together. So, this is what I had. And kind of the main idea that I had for this came from working on another project with this Torii here, this Japanese Torii. I got this from Sketchfab. I'll leave a link down in the description to the exact page that I got this from. But it was free on Sketchfab. It's a really nice model. It looks great. It came with some really good textures. And one of the things I noticed was that they had it broken down in such a way that the top part was actually metallic. And I really liked that because it gave me the freedom to either use it as a metallic, or instead of plugging it into the metallic part of the shader, I could plug it into the emissive and give it a color. So that's kind of where the idea came from when I was originally working with this, was that I would be able to kind of take this guy and turn it into this. So let me actually go into the material for him real quick, just so I can show you. So what I ended up doing was actually taking, and this is kind of a little spaghetti mess at the moment, but like right here on this texture, you can see right there is the blue channel. It's all of our metallic pieces. And so instead of plugging that into metallic, I just took that blue and plugged it in with this color node and went straight into the emissive channel. So that kind of gave me the ability to use it in multiple different ways, which I thought was really cool. There we go. And then if I unplug all that, you can kind of see here how the top of that is just like this nice dark metallic look. And that's not actually the way it's supposed to look. It's a little off because I've messed with so many things here. But you can see if we plug that back in and hit apply there, we get that color back to it a little bit. But then if I plug that into emissive, then it turns into a light. Doesn't actually need to be plugged into the metallic there, but yeah, so that is my Torii and how I set that up. I also made a separate image over here. So you can kind of see if I zoom out here, I have like this main scene, right? So my camera is underneath this little building. Got this little overhang. I built a little fence. I built this little fence along here and this walkway. And then this guy, if you look, he's actually just the default Unreal Engine mannequin. I just dropped him into the scene because I was trying to be quick with this. I kind of gave myself a little bit of a time limit on this image, and I ended up playing around a bit and making 2 images out of it. So since I was just kind of looking at the back of this person, I just used the default mannequin, and it kind of gave a nice little shine to him as well, because obviously it's a very shiny material there. But anyway, if I zoom out, you can see I've got all these buildings and the giant castle in the background. But then just next to it here, I decided to build a second image. And this one was a lot more simple. I just went for like something like this right here, where you've got the big castle in the background. You've got some trees and whatnot here, a little fog. A lot more simple. Just kind of this neon glowing thing, sort of in a forest almost. And to me, I don't know, this kind of actually looks like the entrance to like an apartment building almost. I don't know. I don't know why it hits me that way, but this just For some reason, this building comes across to me as like an apartment building. I have no idea why. But then over here, it's all the same buildings. So the way that I built these actually is I actually turned them all into these blueprints here. Let me open up this blueprint though, and we'll go to the viewport. In the blueprint, you can see this is what our building looks like. It's messing with my LODs in here for some reason, but that's okay. So this is what my building looks like. And essentially, it's just stacks of the same thing over and over. So if I go in here, my Osaka Castle pack, it's just this. I took this and shrunk it down a little bit. Oops. Took that, I shrunk it down a little bit. And then it was really just as simple as you go like that. You go like that. And you just build it up, and then I would go up another level and then shrink it down a little bit. And then copy that. And that's really all there is to these buildings. And then I capped it off with this. Now, obviously, you don't see all this extra neon stuff down there, but that's just because I dropped it below. I just did that. So it's there, it's just inside. So inside the blueprint, I bet you I'd be able to do this. Yeah, if I lift that up, and you can see how if I do that, it's actually affecting all of these back here. Which, I don't know, I think that's kind of cool. But, yeah, so I could have that. But I felt like that was just too... It was too noisy. There's just too much going on there. And it felt repetitive without any need for it. So, yeah, so I just kind of left it sunk down. Yeah, so these buildings, it's just literally stacks of the same thing. And then inside of this, you've got all the textures. So what I did for this one, so this is the texture for all these materials would have been metallic. Let's take this one here, maybe. Here we've got our static mesh. If I drop this original one back in here, you'll see it actually is like a silver metallic color for these ornaments on the edges of the buildings. I didn't want that. So instead, I did the same exact process that I did with the Torii, which was to take that original thing and plug the metallic into the emissive channel, and then gave it a color so that in the material instance, I could just come in here and change these colors to whatever I want. And I really liked that freedom, being able to play with that. And then, as you can see there, as I was changing those, the main castle was actually the separate one here. So that one I could change independently. So it's just a copy of the material instance. So my original plan was to have, you know, the Torii here as like a main focal point, and then just buildings that people would live in, like I said, like the apartment building kind of thing, leading back into the distance where you would see like the giant castle. I don't know if this was the right way to do the giant castle. To be perfectly honest with you guys, I don't know that I care for the giant castle. I wish I would have done it differently. Maybe you just scattering more and more of these blueprints through something like the foliage system, just to make like a big city back there with like one super tall main building. I think that would have been cooler. But like I said, I put myself on kind of a time limit. I didn't want to spend forever doing this, and just kind of limited myself. So if I go back and revisit this, I'll probably do something like that. But this is what I ended up with. And then I really liked the simplicity of the shot in the back here. So I can kind of show you the camera angle that I had for that was just this one, which honestly, now that I'm looking at that, I feel like this angle actually looks better as 16:9. I like it a lot better like this, where you can see a lot of that building sticking up there. I like that. Anyway, but this is what I ended up going with for the main render. But again, I'm probably going to revisit something like this because I did this quickly and I would love to be able to go back and spend more time on it. But let me get into a little bit of the background stuff here. So for the sky, I used ultra dynamic sky. I had ultra dynamic weather. I didn't actually end up using that, even though it's in here. I just kind of left it, but I was thinking about having it be like raining and whatnot, and I kind of gave up on that. I did add in these street lights. This is just a blueprint. I believe it was actually from a free collection from Kitbash. It's called like their Neo City or something like that. Again, I'll leave a link in the description to that. It's essentially just this streetlight blueprint. And I went in and just added a couple spotlights for each one so that I could control the light beams, I could control the color, their angles, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so I just added spotlights to that. And that was kind of that. I made the little walkway here, which isn't really anything fancy. I only built out the parts that I needed to in order to see. Oh, I almost forgot these, my little lanterns. I don't speak Japanese, and so I have no idea what that says or what this is for that matter. But if any of you guys know, let me know down in the comments. Hopefully it doesn't say anything crazy, because it's in my image and in my video. But I will also leave a link to this lantern. This just came from Sketchfab also, so I'll leave a link to that down below. With my ultra dynamic sky, one of the things I love is that you get so much control over your clouds, and they look so good. I mean, look at that sky, man. That looks so good. That sky just looks incredible. And then I also have all of the fog in place. You got the volumetric fog, you got the sky, got my sun in there. Like ultra dynamic sky, it just gives you so much control. But if you don't have it, you can still achieve the same exact look. So once I got my render completed, I ended up bringing it over here into Photoshop to kind of put together the final pieces and get that finished look that I was trying to get. So I'm pretty standard. I've been doing Photoshop for 20 years, so I have a pretty kind of set up workflow that I like to work through as far as image editing, but a lot of it is pretty subtle, but I think the finished product comes out pretty nice. So the biggest one you can see is like the camera raw filter going from like before, after, just adds a lot of contrast to it. But you got to be careful because like even in this one, I added a lot of contrast with it, but you can see on like some of these buildings way back here in the background that you lose some of that fog. So you lose a little bit of that atmosphere. So you got to be a little careful. This one you can see just kind of punched up the glow a little bit on the buildings. This one, same thing, but for the Torii. Added a little bit of more fog there, nice curves layer. Added in my own subtle little vignette there. And then this one, another camera raw filter, but this one was just kind of to change the overall colors. I liked the more sort of muted colors, I guess, a little less saturation, a little more muted there. I like that. Lens dust, which I don't know how well that's showing up in the video here because compression probably gets rid of a lot of it. And then finally, I added in some LUTs. I kind of have a couple go-tos that I like to use, but for this one, I added the first one there. Just kind of gives it a little bit more of a dark, mysterious, foggy tone to it, which is kind of why I was okay earlier on losing a little bit of that atmosphere in the back, was because I knew that I was going to get it back with this. So I did that, and then we add the second LUT here. It's very subtle, just to kind of bring a little more contrast back to those colors. And yeah, that was that. So full render through Unreal, and then bring that into Photoshop for the final touches. Anyway, I don't want this video to go on for too long, so I'll probably wrap this up here. But yeah, that is what I ended up with for my shot number 2 there. And shot number 1 here for my main one. I went with just a 4x5 sort of Instagram crop on that, but you could just as easily go for a normal 16:9, and you can see, like, I have I'm using Easy Fog from Will Fauché, and you can see that, like, it's kind of a little bit animated. So just do something like this, like with the animated fog, and then seeing that little bit of camera, it would look really good, I think. You don't need a lot. You don't need a lot, that's for sure. But I want to go for the still image, so that's the still image here. Hopefully you guys like this. If you do, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Let me know down in the comments what kind of scene would you guys like to see me put together next, because I'm new to Unreal. I'm new to 3D in general. My main focus has usually been on like sci-fi and space art, and so I'm trying to focus on that, but also get into more of this sort of environmental and like urban stuff. So yeah, let me know down in the comments what kind of scenes are you guys interested in, and I'll work on putting that together for next week. So yeah, look forward to hearing from you guys, and until next time, take it easy.